talk about really the power of becoming. And I will say this, some of the toughest people I know have been through the toughest of times. So we're going to talk really about what that really means and why you should embrace it. So I am honored to stand here before a group of individuals that have made a decision for change. I'm sure that you started many years like this one, saying, "This is the year, this is the year." Then the year goes by, you have your ups and downs, right? A lot of people set these New Year resolutions, but what happens to them? They fade away, and sometimes it's within weeks. It doesn't even last, right? But in order to have true transformation, you gotta make a switch in your mind. You're flipping that control. Change is never easy. It demands courage, it demands resilience, and a willingness to step into the unknown. And that's scary. But I'll tell you this, when you are comfortable, you're not growing. It's only when you're uncomfortable, that's where growth happens. And the more that you stretch yourself, guess what? It starts to be less scary. It starts to become more comfortable. So you gotta get to a place where you're comfortable being uncomfortable. Now today we're gonna talk about something that will determine if you're gonna be on this journey for true transformation or if it's gonna stop a couple of weeks in. And that is your emotional mindset. So when I talk about emotional mindset, it reminds me of my son. See, in 2024, just like this year, we were going into the year expecting big things. We had aspirations this was going to be a good year. You get all the messages, right? But sometimes, and I heard a lot of you talking about this, you got to be careful because sometimes God won't answer your prayers. We pray boldly to manifest His will. And in 2024, on January 6th, life hit us in the face. We have two sons. Justin, he's 18, and my youngest, Brian, who's 15 now, joined the mountain biking team. And he actually showed some progress. He showed that he was actually doing pretty good. So on January 6th of that year, he went to practice, and his coach decided to take him into the expert trails because he was showing some progress. And of course, he's always heard me talk about pushing your stuff, pushing your limits. It's okay to be a little scared. You actually grow. Again, it's crazy how God will prepare you for things, right? I didn't know back then, but God was preparing me to be His dad. And I was instilling that since an early age. So I was in his head saying, "Hey, be bold, be brave." And he goes down a 20-foot ramp. And of course, he got scared and hit the brake a little bit too hard. He flies off the ramp, goes face first into concrete. He blows out his bottom teeth, ripped open his mouth, nose is crushed. He gets rushed to the hospital. 8 hours of surgery to salvage whatever they could in his face. And since then, it's been a series of operations. He's gone through 8 up to date, and he still has more results. He's had to learn how to adjust and eat without his bottom teeth. But what I will say is that the things that you think are meant to destroy and diminish you actually unlock levels you never thought existed. The things that mark you is where the remarkable is birthed. We've seen God's grace and mercy in this whole situation. He's carried us through. A lot of people say, "I don't even know how you got through it." And it's because we held God by the hand. God will sometimes take you to the desert because He's seeking your attention. And so again, you're afraid of this thing. We're afraid of that thing. But really, it's meant to grow us. It's meant to be part of our journey. And it's critical. I love this quote by James Allen that said, You are today your thoughts, but tomorrow where your thoughts will take you. Whatever you believe going into 2026 is what's going to manifest. You got to start speaking things into existence. So I'm going to talk about this journey of becoming in 3 parts. You guys ready? Who's ready?
Ready.
Yes, ready.
All right. All right. So part 1 is embracing pain. All right? We run away from pain. We don't run away from pain. Embrace your pain. This phrase of journey of becoming is powerful because it reminds us that transformation is not a destination. It's progress. It's a process. You know, a lot of you said you want to be the leaders. Leadership is not a destination. It's an ongoing journey. It's every single day. You're learning. It's a process. Getting better a little bit, one day at a time. Becoming means evolving, growing, and stretching beyond who you were yesterday. So don't run from your pain, embrace it. Here's some truths about embracing pain. Change is emotional before it's practical. It's emotional. We make a lot of our decisions based on emotions. We work in sales, and selling is all emotions. People like to buy, they want it to be sold. There's an emotion that goes with it. Guess what? When things are good, guess what happens to the stock market? It's healthy. People are buying. When people are scared, guess what? People are selling. People are afraid, right? You can have the best strategy, you can have the best tools, the best plan, but if your mindset's not aligned, nothing's going to change. It's an inside job. You have to make a decision. So it's critical that you understand that everything has to happen in the inside. And in order to do that, you have to embrace your pain. See, think of this journey like climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the thinner the air becomes. It gets uncomfortable. It's exhausting. Well, what about that view on the top? It was worth every single step. There's a story that I like to illustrate that really talks about this power of how we handle pain. So there was 3 boys who decided they wanted to go to a mountaintop to experience it firsthand. Their names was Justin, Brian, and Nico. And so they get their backpacks and they go on this journey. 30 minutes in, Nico says, "Hey, can we stop?" And he's like, "My feet are tired. And this backpack is heavy." So Justin felt great. Justin says, "Hey, here, give me your backpack. I'll carry it for you." He's like, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "Yeah, I feel great. Let's go." All right, so they continue to go. 30 minutes in, Brian stops and says, "Hey, I need to stretch. I'm getting a little bit tired here. Can you stretch a little bit?" So he asks Nico and Justin, "Hey, how are you guys feeling?" And Nico says, "You know what? My feet hurt even more. I don't think I can continue. I don't even know why I signed up for this." Justin says, and he's rubbing his shoulders. He's out of breath. But he says, "No, I'm good. Let's go. I'm good. Let's keep going." So Nico said, No. I'll wait for you guys. I'll come here. I'll meet you guys when you come back." All right, so Justin and Brian continue on this journey. 30 minutes later, Brian says, "Hey, I'm starting to feel a little hungry. Let's stop and eat." And at that moment, Justin falls on the floor. He's like, "Hey, what happened?" He said, "You know what? This was too heavy for me. But it's okay. Keep going. Go with that." He's like, "No, but we're going to do this together." He's like, It's all right. I'll just wait for you here." So Brian decides to go on this journey by himself. Now, as he's getting closer to the mountaintop, the air is thinner, it's rough patch. He has to pace himself, and he stops along the way. But eventually he gets to the mountaintop. He's on top of the summit, and he sees this beautiful landscape. Now, the reality is that Brian was the only one that made it to the mountaintop. But they all encountered pain. See, Nico encountered pain, but he complained about it every step of the way. Justin endured pain, but he ignored it. He pretended it did not exist. But Brian acknowledged the pain, was able to deal with it, and was the only one to make it through the time. See, here's the truth. We can complain about our pain, but it's not going to go away. We can ignore the pain and pretend it doesn't exist, but guess what? It's still not going to go away. We have to acknowledge the pain to be able to treat it and heal from it. And if you do that, you'll be able to go to mountaintops in 2026. I love this quote by Brian Angelo that says, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. We gotta go through pain, we gotta go through changes in order to go through our beauty." All right, so let's go to part 2, which is decisions matter. Your emotional mindset is the lens through which you see challenges. It determines whether obstacles look like walls or like stepping stones. The decisions you make will determine the results. So, a lot of you said you want to be healthy. That will all be determined if you decide to go to the gym or sit on the couch. A lot of you say you want to be financially healthy. That will be all determined if you invest your money or you spend money you make. A lot of you say you want good relationships, but that will all be determined if you want to forgive or hold grudges. Where you are in life right now is all based on your decisions. Nothing more, nothing less. And here's the dangerous part. A lot of it is invisible. It's harmless. If I get to 500 pounds, and I'm wondering why I got to 500 pounds, it wasn't the one hamburger that I had. It was the multiple decisions that led me. If I developed lung cancer, it wasn't that one smoke that I had. It was every single time I made those decisions along the way. There's this thing called the compound effect. It's always working, either positively or negatively. Every choice at a time. When you leave today, the choices that you make going into 2026 will determine by the end of the year if you had the year that you wanted, or if it's another year that you say, you know what, one day I'll go there. Everything is based on decisions. Small, radical changes, incremental changes, compounded over time, lead to radical results. If you have a huge milestone, it did not happen overnight. A championship boxer didn't win that championship that night. He won it every single day that he made decisions to run at 5 o'clock in the morning, to train for 12 hours, to have strict diets. The discipline that it got him to be crowned in the ring. It's all based on decisions. So I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear?
Bad news.
Bad news? All right. The bad news is you're going to suffer. There's no way around it. You're going to suffer. You want the good news? Or want some good news?
That's the good news.
All right. The good news is you get to decide. I can decide discipline, or I can decide regret. You get to decide how you want to suffer, but no one can avoid it. All right, so a couple of things I want you to understand. Emotions drive decisions. Fear paralyzes us, but courage can propel you forward. If you believe change is impossible, you'll find evidence to prove that you were right. It's called confirmation bias. But if you believe that something is possible, you're going to find opportunities everywhere. There's this little game called Tetris. Anybody ever played Tetris or heard of Tetris? All right, so Tetris, you know what it is? It's a puzzle game. Was actually created in Russia. And they wanted to pilot to see if this game was going to be a success. So they actually marketed it with a couple of college kids, and they started playing, and they became hooked. They became addicted to playing Tetris day in, day out. And what they started to find is that there was this thing called the Tetris effect, which is that they love this so much, they play this so much, that everywhere they went, they started to see shapes. They would go to supermarkets and start stacking bread like the pieces. Why? Because it's something that they program their brains. See, we have a calibration in the way that we see things. Let me ask you this. Has anybody ever decided at one time that you wanted to buy a white car? Anybody? Okay. Did you notice that after that you started seeing white cars everywhere? Or let's say you decided, I'm gonna buy a Toyota Corolla, and all of a sudden you see Toyota Corollas everywhere. Yeah? They were always there. It's just that you didn't notice it. Once you recalibrated your brain, you started to see things. So again, when you start thinking of the possibilities, you start to all of a sudden see them everywhere. But you have to recalibrate, because what happens is we have a defense mechanism that allows us to always be attentive and alert to the things that are broken, the things that are dangerous, the things that are negative, because we see them as threats. But it takes intentional effort for us to recalibrate that to see the good, to see what's working, to see the things that are positive. I know we're going to talk about gratitude, but gratitude is one exercise that you can do that can automatically change everything in your life. Create better relationships, better in your finances, better in everything that you do when you start to see the things that are working. If you take today just as an example, it is a miracle that you woke up today. It is a miracle that you are breathing. It is a miracle that you can see, that you can hear, that you can talk, that you can walk. It is a miracle. There are people in hospital beds that would do anything to trade places with any of you right now. But we have to start seeing it differently. So know that decisions matter. All right. Part 3 is we gotta be fearless in 2026. Listen, on the other side of fear is everything that you want to know. How many of you want to be successful? How many of you want finances, good relationships, good health, all that stuff, right? Well, it's on the other side of fear. We are afraid to take risks. We're afraid to put ourselves out there. We're afraid to look foolish. We're afraid to overcome rejections. Some are afraid of rejection. But the reality is that on the other side of that is everything we want. I like to say that fear stands for false experience of carrying real. It's things that you make up in your mind. You gotta be fearless. In order to achieve more, you gotta be fearless. So here's my question to you. What would you do if you weren't afraid? What would the version of yourself look like if you weren't afraid? That version that you aspire to be, what are some of the things that they would do? How would they think? I can assure you that they don't fear. Fear is not of God. Fear is of the enemy. The enemy wants to instill fear in you. So you gotta be fearless of becoming more. So here's some things that you need to change. So go from fear to being curious. Instead of asking, what if I fail, ask, what can I learn? Curiosity turns fear into fuel. We got to go from being comfortable to having courage. Comfort zones feel safe, but they keep you small. Courage is stepping into discomfort, knowing that growth lives there. We got to push past our feelings. What's not controlling? Just do it. You know what the key word there is? It's not do.
Just.
It's just. You know why it's just? Because there's feelings involved. We don't feel like going to the gym. We don't feel, right now we're going to exercise. We didn't feel like speaking out, right? But we just got to do it. That's where it came from. It came from athletes pushing them, because I'm telling you right now, athletes don't want to train 12 hours a day. They don't want to eat strict diets. But their dreams and aspirations is bigger than anything else, so they just do it. That's what we gotta push past our comfort zone. If you are comfortable in 2026 and you're not growing, and we got to go from resistance to adaptability. Change will happen with or without you. The pandemic hit us in 2020. No one was able to escape, right? So we got to get to a place where adaptability means embracing change as a partner and not as an enemy. There's this little company called Blockbuster. Does anybody remember Blockbuster? Maybe I'm dating myself. All right, so Blockbuster, for those of you who don't know, was the thing. Blockbuster, you used to go out, pick the movies, get your snack. You know how Blockbuster really made their money?
Snacks.
Yes, snacks. And what else? Late fees, yes. Late fees. And if you really go back, it was Be Kind and Rewind. If you didn't rewind the VHS, there was a fee for that. So by the time you forgot to return the movie, and you're better off buying the movie than renting it, right? A little company came along called Netflix. Now, it's not the Netflix that we know today. Originally, Netflix actually wanted to partner with Blockbuster, and they said, hey, let's get rid of late fees. And they were like, get rid of late fees? No, that's how our business was built. And they were a big bad Blockbuster, so they were like, we don't need you. And so they passed up on buying Netflix or partnering with Netflix. So Netflix launched, they said no late fees. Then they came out with different packages. You can have one movie at a time, 3, 5, then they introduced video games, and then they moved on. Where's Blockbuster today? Yes, there's one Blockbuster left in Oregon for nostalgia purposes, but they went out of business because they did not adapt. They did not change. I know I talked earlier about AI. I'm telling you right now, we need to adapt to AI. Because if not, again, we're going to be like Blockbuster. We need to learn how to be adaptable, fluent like water. See, no one can outrun change, but growth is optional. If you change now, you're going to grow. If you change later, you're going to grow. All right, so I'm going to give you some practical steps to help you here. We talked about the 3 parts of how to become more, which is embrace your pain, decisions matter, and be fearless. All right? I'm going to give you some practical things that you can do as we talk through these exercises that will help you. Number 1 is practice self-awareness. Notice your emotions before they control you. There's this great exercise called mapping, trapping, and zapping. Which is, if you're feeling some kind of way, you know you should be doing certain things, right? You know there are certain things that you should be doing in order to do the things that you want to do. See, a lot of us say that we want to be successful, but we don't want it as bad as we want to be comfortable. Or we don't want it as bad as we want to sleep in. Or we don't want it as bad as we want to party. Like we say we want it, but we don't really want it. We got to get to a place where we need to identify, map it, trap it, and then zap it. How do you zap it? Is by changing your perspective, changing the way that you see things. Instead of saying something like, I have to go to work, say, I get to go to work. You see how that changes everything? It's not I have to, it's I get to. Or instead of saying, I have to put up my kids today, say, I get to. You automatically learn how to have grace and compassion. Because there are people that wish they had kids. There are people that wish they had a job right now. So change that perspective. The other thing is reframe challenges. So we talked about it. Instead of saying things like, this is hard, say, this is shaping you. Right? Or instead of saying, I can't do this, I'm shy, say, I used to be shy, but I'm getting better every day. Or instead of saying, I'm broke, don't say you're broke. You know why you're broke? Because you keep on saying you're broke. No, say, I might not have the money right now, but I'm going to find a way to get it. Speak things into existence. Manifest The tongue is very powerful. It can bring life and it can bring death. Be mindful. All right, and then the last one I would say is celebrate progress. Every small win you need to celebrate. The fact that you're here is a win. The fact that you're going to create vision boards is a win. Celebrate the small things. Listen, we have more compassion and grace for others than we do for ourselves. You got to be mindful of your negative stuff. I think some of you mentioned that. You got to start believing in yourself, because I'll tell you this, if you don't believe in yourself, then who is? It has to start with you. It's an inside job. You got to learn how to have that self-love. You got to, when you look at that mirror, what do you see? What do you say to yourself? Because I'll tell you this, if you don't love what you see, you're not going to be able to love anyone. You got to love yourself before you can love others. You got to help yourself before you help others. You got to develop yourself before you develop others. It all has to start with you. So it is critical that you celebrate the wins and you give yourself that self-love. So in closing, this journey of becoming is not perfection. It's all about progress. It's about showing up every day with the willingness to work hard, learn, and make adjustments. 2026 is a year to rise above fear, embrace change, and become the person that you always envisioned. Remember this, emotional mindset is the engine for transformation. So you got to protect it, you got to strengthen it, and you got to lead with it. So as we close, today can be day one of your transformation. Or if not next year, a year from now, you're going to still be saying, one day, I want to be that. It's all up to you. Let's make today the start of your transformation. Here's to 2026, the start of your becoming. Thank you.